Hebrews 12. Wherefore, seeing we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight, and the sin which doth so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of God. For consider him that endured such contradiction of sinners against himself, lest ye be wearied, and faint in your minds. Ye have not yet resisted unto blood, striving against sin. And ye have forgotten the exhortation which speaketh unto you as unto children, my son. Despise not thou the chastening of the Lord, nor faint when thou art rebuked of him. For whom the Lord loveth he chasteneth, and scourgeth every son whom he receiveth. If ye endure chastening, God dealeth with you as with sons. For what son is he whom the Father chasteneth not? But if ye be without chastisement, whereof all are partakers, then are ye bastards, and not sons. Furthermore, we have had fathers of our flesh which corrected us, and we gave them reverence. Shall we not much rather be in subjection unto the Father of spirits and live? For they verily for a few days chasten us after their own pleasure, but he for our profit, that we might be partakers of his holiness. Now no chastening for the present seemeth to be joyous, but grievous. Nevertheless afterward it yieldeth the peaceable fruit of righteousness unto them which are exercised thereby. Wherefore lift up the hands which hang down, and the feeble knees, and make straight paths for your feet, lest that which is lame be turned out of the way, but let it rather be healed.
I recommend putting this at 1.5 speed for better viewing. Hello, brothers and sisters in the Lord. I'm coming to you today to talk about the chastisement of God mentioned in Hebrews 12. I want to go over exactly what it is, as there are many groups within the Christian circle that have a sin-focused view about it rather than letting the scriptures speak for themselves in correlation to the context, which would be the book of Hebrews, which speaks on the unbelief of those who keep going back to the temple sacrifices. So I just want to go over this really quickly with you guys to clarify some of the stuff as someone who has gone through this and can speak on this a little more in-depthly. Alright, so this is my presentation on the chastisement of God. Wherefore, seeing we are encompassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which doth so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us. We know that the sin being mentioned throughout this book is in correlation to unbelief, the sin of unbelief, because if you think about it, the Hebrews were under the law. They were taught the law, and they would be focused on keeping the law. Therefore, the sin would not be in correlation to the flesh, but rather to the spirit, which would be to ignore what Jesus Christ has done, which is to free us from the law and all its burdens. Looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of God. For consider him that endured with such contradiction of sinners against himself, lest ye be wearied and faint in your minds. Do you not remember what Paul says to renew your mind daily? According to the word, we are to make sure of these things, that we're not wearied and faint in mind to the things of God and the freedom and grace that he's given to us. Here's the problem. In verse 4 and 5, ye have not yet resisted unto blood, striving against sin, and ye have forgotten the exhortation which speaketh unto you as unto children. My son, despise not thou the chastening of the Lord, nor faint when thou art rebuked of him. The problem being that they keep striving against sin. They have not resisted the unbelief and the law onto blood, which is Jesus Christ's blood, which justifies everybody who believes in him. And they keep forgetting the exhortation to the Hebrews, which is to not do this, striving against sin. And we make it evident that in Galatians, it says in Galatians 3, O foolish Galatians, who hath bewitched you, that ye should not obey the truth, before whose eyes Jesus Christ has been evidently set forth crucified among you. This only what I learn of you. Received ye the Spirit by the works of the law, or by the hearing of faith? Are ye so foolish? Having begun in the Spirit, are ye now made perfect by the flesh? Have ye suffered so many things in vain, if it yet be in vain? So, as we can see, that this, we cannot say that the striving against sin is according to the law. So what it would be is the Spirit. Alright. Give me 1 second. Alright, on to the next verses. For whom the Lord loveth, he chasteneth, and scourgeth every son whom he receiveth. If ye endure chastening, God dealeth with you as with sons. For what son is he whom the Father chasteneth not? But if ye be without chastisement, whereof all are partakers, then ye bastards and not sons. So here we should have assurance, if we go through this, that we are sons and not bastards. Because I'm going to show you Jesus' own words. Revelation 3:17-18. Because thou sayest, I am rich, and increase with goods, and have need of nothing, and knowest not that thou art wretched, and miserable, and poor, and blind, and naked, I counsel thee to buy of me gold tried in the fire, that thou mayest be rich, and right raiment, that thou mayest be clothed, and that the shame of thy nakedness do not appear, and anoint thine eyes with thyself, that thou mayst see us. So this first part is speaking to the church of Laodicea, and it's talking to the minister of that church, the angel of that church, speaking on the dynamic in the church, and they're thinking that they have all these things, but Jesus is saying, you have none of these things in my sight. So, but then he gives this promise, verse 19-20. As many as I love, I rebuke and chasten. Be zealous, therefore, and repent. As you can see, Jesus says, as many as I love, speaking on those who he has chosen to believe from the foundation of the world, those he loves with an everlasting love. As many as I love, I rebuke and chasten. As it says here, if ye endure chastening, God dealeth with you as with sons. For what son is he whom the Father chasteneth not? But if ye be without chastisement, whereof all are partakers, then are ye bastards and not sons. So we have great confidence if we have this happen to us. And I'm going to explain what's going on here. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him and will sup with him, and he with me. To him that overcometh will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I also overcame and am set down with my Father on his throne. So we get this promise as believers at verse 20 and 21, but it's speaking on belief, faith, because when we believe, Christ is within us. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come in to him and will sup with him, and he with me. This is the consummation by faith. So just keep that in mind. If ye endure chastening, God dealeth with you as with sons. For what son is he whom the Father chasteneth not? But if ye be without partakers, without chastisement, whereof all are partakers, then are ye bastards and not sons. Furthermore, we have had fathers of our flesh, which corrected us, and we gave them reverence. Shall we not much rather be in subjection unto the Father of spirits and live? Keep that in mind. And live. For they verily for a few days chastened us after their own pleasure. But for he for our profit, that we might be partakers in his holiness. How are we holy? Well, that is by the imputed righteousness of God. Colossians 1:22-23 states, "And you that were sometime alienated and enemies in your own mind by wicked works, yet now hath he reconciled in the body of his flesh through death, to present you holy and unblameable and unreprovable in his sight." So as you can see, by the body of his flesh, his crucifixion, we have been made holy, unblameable, and unreprovable. If ye continue in the faith, grounded and settled, and be not moved away from the hope of the gospel, which ye have heard, and which was preached to every creature which is under heaven, whereof I, Paul, am made a minister. Furthermore, it's made evident in Hebrews 10:14, where it says, "For by one offering he hath perfected for ever them that are sanctified, so by that same body of his flesh we are perfected forever," just as 1 John says we walk as he walked in this present world. Just underlying the "for his profit" part, this is not the flesh being spoken about, as the following passages show. Romans 3:10-12, "As it is written, there is none righteous, no, not one. There is none that understandeth, there is none that seeketh after God. They are all gone out of the way, they are together become unprofitable. There is none that doeth good, no, not one." And John 6:63 says, "It is the Spirit that quickeneth, the flesh profiteth nothing. And the words that I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life." Just to go back one slide. So as you can see, the Spirit is the only thing that profits, as in verse 10. Our spirit profits when our spirit is quickened, and we could become partakers in his holiness, because as Jesus said clearly, it is the Spirit that quickeneth, and the flesh profiteth nothing. And Romans tells us we have altogether become unprofitable. So this is not according to the flesh. So when people approach you saying the chastisement of God is God whipping you, taking you home, or even from the free grace community, they say that the chastening is according to what you do in the flesh. As you can see, you cannot line that up with what's being said in Hebrews. So, the experience. Verse 11 of Hebrews 12. "Now no chastening for the present seemeth to be joyous, but grievous. Nevertheless, afterward it yieldeth the peaceable fruit of righteousness." What is the fruit of righteousness? This is belief, the imputed righteousness of God. That fruit of righteousness is that which you have borne by Jesus, telling you that you shall bear fruit and your fruit shall remain. Your imputed righteousness doesn't go anywhere. "Unto them which are exercised thereby." Why is it grievous? Regarding the ministry, I'm going to tell you what's going on here. 1 Corinthians 3:10-15. "According to the grace of God, which is given unto me as a wise master builder, I have laid the foundation, and another buildeth thereon." Look at this. Laid the foundation, another build on. So let's see what it's saying here. But let every man take heed how he buildeth thereupon, speaking on the foundation. For other foundation can no man lay than that is laid, which is Jesus Christ. So we see that the foundation is Jesus Christ. So this is a doctrine. This is the doctrine of Christ. This is the belief of Christ, the foundation of our faith. Now, if any man build upon this foundation gold, silver, precious stone, wood, hay, and stubble, every man's work shall be made manifest, for the day shall declare it, because it shall be revealed by fire, and the fire shall try every man's work of what sort it is. If any man's work abide, which he hath built thereupon, he shall receive a reward. If any man's work shall be burned, he shall suffer loss, but he himself shall be saved, yet so as by fire. So, who's building here? If you read earlier in 1 Corinthians 3, it speaks on Apollos watering and it's Paul who's planting and Apollos who waters, but God who gives the increase. So if any man is building, the only thing that gives an increase is God and any doctrine by which growth happens. Anything else would be considered wood, hay, and stubble. I can go more in depth with this at a later time, but we'll just move ahead so I can explain this. So, just to give a little more clarification to why this is doctrine, just look at the 2 Timothy 2 to 22. But in a great house there are not only vessels of gold and of silver, but also of wood and of earth, and some to honor and some to dishonor. If a man therefore purge himself of these, if you read the whole context of that chapter, it's speaking on the doctrines Timothy is holding. And he is exhorting Timothy to purge himself of these. He shall be a vessel unto honor, sanctified and meet for the master's use, and prepared for every good work. Flee also youthful lust, but follow righteousness, faith, charity, and peace with those who call on the Lord out of a pure heart. And this lines up with what the first part of 1 John 5:9. If we receive the witness of men, the witness of God is greater, for this is the witness of God, which he hath testified of his Son. I'm going to use this part for later. What is the fire then? Which it's trying the every work, the doctrines by which you're building upon Christ. Verse 6 through 9. And this ye greatly rejoice, though now for a season, if need be, ye are in heaviness through manifold temptations. Look at this. Heaviness through manifold temptations. Is that not grievous? That the trial of your faith, being much more precious than gold, that perisheth, though it be tested by fire. What is more precious than gold that perisheth? That is Jesus Christ. You cannot get any more than precious of gold unless you have something greater than gold, which in Scripture we can see that is Christ. Might be found unto praise and honor and glory at the appearing of Jesus Christ, whom having not seen ye love, and him, though now ye see him not, yet believing, ye rejoice with joy unspeakable and full of glory, receiving the end of your faith, even the salvation of your souls. So, we're going to take an intermission to explain this, and I'll put in a little more personal information on this. So, the way it works is that when a believer or someone who is not founded in the faith, someone who God loves intimately, he will come to that person and rebuke and chasten that person into righteousness. When you are going back to the law, which is what the Hebrews and the book of Hebrews were doing, they were going back to sacrifices, thinking that Christ was not enough. When someone who's supposed to believe in his righteousness and the sacrifice of Christ goes back to law or trying to perfect the flesh, they're going to go undergo this process of the fire that tests your faith. And what's happening here is not a testing of faith by which you're seeing whether you're in the faith or not. This is a testing of faith to burn away those things, the wood, hay, and stubble, which are declared that day, to basically go through a process of cleansing. And in that process, if all that's built upon, or most of it is built upon, is wood, hay, and stubble, those doctrines by which you receive are going to be burned away. But you yourself, through that trial of fire, the thing more precious than gold shall be going through that. The thing that holds on through that fire, he shall be saved as through fire. And as a personal take on it, as someone who has gone through it, when I was trying to find out the doctrines and stuff, I wasn't fully aware of how it worked, the grace of God, the perfection through faith, and all that entails, because I wasn't giving that in due time. But after almost a decade, I came to realize my faulty state in a more intimate way. And I started to listen to teachers that were telling me that I must correct myself according to the flesh, according to the law, or else I'm going to suffer loss, suffer these things, even lose out on my reward which is in heaven, which we know, brothers and sisters, that the inheritance does not perish. It is saved up in heaven. And as Romans says, that how will he not give freely all things through the sacrifice of his son? If that's the case, you're not losing out on anything. This is about something else, which is the doctrines you hold. And during that time, it's like going through a fire. If everything is burning up, it's almost like you're being saved through fire. But as we see, going back a little few slides, the experience is not joyous. It is grievous. But afterward, after the fear, the condemnation to self, after all these things, what gets produced is God getting you through that. And then you are built thereupon even more, God willing. Christ knowingly saying this in John 14:26 through 27, peace I leave with you, my peace I give unto you. Not as the world giveth, give I unto you. Let not your heart be troubled, nor let it be afraid. So, as we see, the peaceable fruit of righteousness produces peace everlasting. And through that, once your foundation is firm, God will build thereupon. And as we read in the Psalms, Psalm 127:1, except the Lord build the house, they labor in vain that build it. Except the Lord keep the city, the watchman waketh but in vain. So as we can see, God is building the firm foundation. God must give the increase, as 1 Corinthians 3 is about. God gives the increase and builds upon that through the ministry, and he will burn away that wood, hay, and stubble. That stuff that is not meet for good works, which is the understanding of grace given unto you, and how we build thereupon is going to be tested and tell you whether your foundation and all that thereupon will survive, or God has to go through this process and cleanse you of that and build you up again. Which is what happened to me, where I basically had to toss out most of the doctrine I knew in place of what doctrine I hold to now in terms of understanding grace. So going from there, let's go back to 1 John really quick, because this encompasses what this is about. If we receive the witness of men, so if we receive the doctrines, the telling of Christ, all these things from men, it is great if we receive the witness of men. But look, the witness of God is greater, for this is the witness of God which he hath testified of his Son. This doesn't just go toward the foundation, which is Christ. This goes into the doctrines of Christ, because God is the one building thereupon that gold, silver, precious jewels, that which cannot be shaken or burnt in the fire. So let's see the fruit. This is the working of God. This is the witness of God. John 15:16 says, Ye have not chosen me, but I have chosen you and ordained you that ye should go and bring forth fruit, and that your fruit should remain. This is God doing this. God is giving you that peaceable fruit of righteousness. What is remaining? That same thing that remains as mentioned by Peter. Your faith being more precious than gold. That whatsoever ye shall ask of the Father in my name, he may give it to you. Galatians 5:22-24. But the fruit of the Spirit. Let's say it again. The fruit of the Spirit. That peaceable fruit of righteousness is the fruit of the Spirit. Is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith. Emphasis on the faith. This is the peaceable fruit of righteousness. How are we made righteous? Through faith. How shall we live? Through faith. Meekness, temperance, against such is no law. Here we go. And they that are Christ, so this is, the chastisement is according to the Spirit. The chastisement is leading to this. They that are Christ have crucified the flesh with the affections and lusts. This is talking about the flesh. This is talking about going back to sacrifices. This is talking about the law. Where there is no law, there is no transgression. So what sin is being mentioned in Hebrews? The sin that so easily beset us is unbelief. So the writer of Hebrews is exhorting them to put that aside. It easily besets the Jewish people to not believe the promises of God. Sorry, I get really passionate about this topic. So that's the end of my presentation. And I've been working on this for a little while. I could go more in depth, but I'm already reaching the 30-minute mark, so I'm going to bid you guys Godspeed and God bless, and I hope this was edifying toward you. Goodbye, everybody.